Nobody is taking note of the fact that Anthony Gordon is slowly becoming one of the best wingers in the league. And I got a feeling that he's on the verge of exploding. Not literally. That'd be awful. Let me show you how and why he's been able to improve on a week-by-week basis so far this season. So over the last week, Newcastle have played Chelsea, PSG and Man United. That's an incredibly tough run. And Gordon has been nothing short of immense. We've taken his stats from all three matches and we combined them to show you his impact and importance to this Newcastle side. Take note of these stats because Anthony Gordon is one of the most manipulative players in the league, and I mean that in the best way. And that led to victories over Chelsea and Man United, and it should have been a victory in the game against PSG, of course, as well. Don't get me started on VAR. So this week, Anthony Gordon has had 11 shot-creating actions, including 6 against Man United, 8 progressive carries, 4 of which against PSG, and 21 progressive receptions, 10 of those being in that Man United game. And he's doing it in several very nuanced ways. The first thing we need to talk about is his ability to understand space brilliantly. Now, most wingers play out wide, and the reason they want to play out wide is so that they can have as long as possible to, first of all, make a decision on what they want to do, secondly, isolate the defender they're up against, and thirdly, it allows them to probably square them up and go one way or another without many other people getting involved in that duel. But this is where Anthony Gordon is different, and these next few freeze frames will show you exactly what I'm talking about. So we can see here in the game against Chelsea that Anthony Gordon is right here, and Bruno Guimaraes is the man on the ball. Now, what would happen in this scenario in most circumstances is that the winger Gordon, he would stay wide. He would make his way or, look to make that run in behind in that way. But in fact, Gordon does the utter opposite. He moves towards the ball. So why does he do that? What is the reason? Well, it's very, very clever from Gordon. It's his initial movement accompanied by Guimaraes carrying the ball that little bit more. That means that Reece James's position, Reece James is right here. He had a horrible day, got himself sent off in this game. His position is neither sort of here nor there. He's not in great balance. And actually, I think he thought he was going to be going the other way or this way. But the last thing he thought it was going to be going towards the ball. So by Gordon making that inverted movement, James's momentum means that he can't go with Gordon, which allows Gordon to, first of all, receive a progressive pass and then allow himself to make a run and hurt the opposition. So he receives the ball inside. He attempts to play a through ball to Isak. It doesn't come off on this occasion, but that's not what you should be focusing on here. Look at Reece James here. Reece James, he's forced to follow Gordon. But due to his slip, he has a lot of ground to make up, and he can't get anywhere near Gordon because of the manipulation of the man. Secondly, he leaves a massive space in which Livramento at left back could exploit. Did you spot that one? Did you? Well, don't worry, that's why I'm here, guys. I've done this work. I'm that much of a loser. This moment happened all before the 4th minute of the game. Of course, it's easy to point these things out in hindsight, but I think it's genuinely no shock that Reece James gets sent off in this game because of what's happening. I mean, he's all over the place. And Reece James is off the back of a game against Man City where a Jeremy Doku, a guy who gets the ball out wide, has that time to make a decision, and then looks to square up his opponent, didn't actually do that much against Reece James. So here's another example that showcases a few different things. Now, the first thing is proactive movement from Gordon in this instance because he plays a first-time ball to Isak. And the reason why that's fantastic is, again, it shows the knowledge that if he plays that pass quickly, then he can get a bit of a march on Reece James, who, again, is in kind of no man's land. He's not really tight enough, and he's concerned. He's concerned about that pace from Anthony Gordon, and also he's concerned about that movement because he doesn't know if he's going to drop deep, which is something that he doesn't want to allow him to do because he doesn't want him to have that kind of space to be able to turn on the ball. So he wants to get tight, but he's nervous to get tight. And so Gordon, by knowing that, by playing that first-time pass, as I said, to Isak, if we move it on one more, you can see, again, really smart play from him. He's able to play that ball quickly, get a move on, and Isak actually doesn't play a great ball to him. But if he had done, especially with the wheels that Gordon has, he could have been through on goal because obviously he's got Thiago Silva to beat and Reece James is not in the best position. It's a straight, flat-out race between these two. And that's going to be a tight one when you've got to play with the quality and physical quality of someone like Anthony Gordon. What's important to note there is that both those examples are examples of manipulating an opponent's body shape and position on the pitch. And it's one of the things that Anthony Gordon is doing so well, yet still going under the radar, which I find really, really odd. And this is something that's the whole kind of point of these videos, is that you will see these little initial movements and then moving in behind, and you will not be able to miss it now. It's fantastic, it's brilliant, it's subtle, and it's devastating. This type of movement and play is something that I think is very, very rare amongst wingers these days, and yeah, it's very impressive. Let me show you why. Can you spot Anthony Gordon in this screenshot? Well done if you did spot him, because he's not where most people would expect a winger to be. Let's recap, shall we? So far we've seen Gordon utilise that brilliance to play a little bit inverted, right? In that inverted position to make that move towards to either play a pass or to then spin the other way and get in behind. But now we're seeing the final piece of the puzzle. There's Anthony Gordon right here in the back corner. Did you spot him? There he is. This image shows Anthony Gordon making a run in behind the defence. That's something that we rarely see from the new breed of wingers who often come short for the ball. Let's say like a Jack Grealish, who rarely make that run in behind because he wants to get on the ball and sort of bait the opposition for other runners. But not only does he make the run, but he also takes the ball down and he controls it. It's so rare that we see a winger do that, and it's absolutely amazing stuff. And it's a nod to why he's played as a striker at times this season, because his all-round game is fast developing at Newcastle and he is brilliantly refining it all the time. And here you can see that gets on the ball, holds his man off. He has a strength that people don't see. So he's got the intelligence, he's got the speed, and he's got the strength as well to play as a striker and a winger and a 10 all at the same time for Newcastle. His goal against Chelsea sets him apart from every winger in the league with what he does. The beautiful thing about his goal is that he wasn't even in a wide position for it, but all of the things that he knows about movement do come into play here. Now, first off, he's operating in Badiashiel's blind spot. Here's Badiashiel. Here's Anthony Gordon just staying on that blind side of him to make life difficult. He can see the back of his shirt. Badiashiel, of course, can't see him. But he's also stood in an advanced position. He's also stood here looking to get in behind instead of dropping short. In fact, he's actually bordering on offside. This implies that Gordon is kind of offside and not really that much of a threat. But Badiashiel, his body language is going in the same direction if he has to deal with it, because Thiago Silva is dealing with Joe Linton if he does want to engage. So the danger is in that area there. But what he does next is just absolutely fantastic. And again, it's manipulation. You know, your body language provides communication to your opponent. And if you can turn him into a pretzel, which is what he does, then they're in massive, massive problems. Because as you see, he is initially on that side. We move it on one. What you see is Anthony Gordon comes back towards the play and towards the goal. And that stands up Badiashiel, as you can see here. That stands him up. So his body weight is all over the place. But of course, Newcastle are very well drilled. He knows that that pass is coming in. And then if we move it one more, you can see exactly what we're talking about. That fantastic movement means that instead of it being a flat out race, that movement to stop him and then go means that he is out in front. Thiago Silva's certainly not catching him, and Badiashiel's only just noticed that he's even there. Gordon is one step ahead. He is a master manipulator, as I said. Now, we've got a screenshot from the PSG match that I think shows how intelligent Gordon actually is as a footballer. Now, usually, the natural thing to do when switching the ball is for the winger to peel as wide as possible, as we've spoken about, and expect the ball. But here you can see Gordon not doing this. He's not even pointing toward Isak, and that the ball should go to him. So despite being a tricky winger, he has an appreciation for other positions, and this shows it perfectly. His second action here is absolutely brilliant. So why was he pointing to Isak to get on the ball and not swap places with him? Well, it's because Skriniar, the centre-back, is actually the one marking Isak, and those two are out of place. Hakimi here is obviously the right back, and he's marking Gordon, and they're doing a man-to-man job. But what Gordon does really, really well here is that he drags Hakimi out of position. But by displacing him, and if you imagine him in that area once he does that, that means it's Skriniar against Isak, one-on-one, and also Isak then has the opportunity to turn him inside out, but also provide all this space for him to make his way to goal. This displacing of the defence is something that Anthony Gordon instigated, and it's something that every team that plays against him should be very, very mindful of. Next, we've got the match against Manchester United, and we need to talk about Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because after what Gordon did to Reece James last week, Wan-Bissaka, he should have known better, I'll be honest. In this first screenshot, we have Isak carrying the ball, and Anthony Gordon is as wide as he can be. There he is. Driving, off he goes. But has Wan-Bissaka done his work? He then, of course, should we all say it together? He inverts. He does what Gordon does. Ever so slightly, though. It is incredibly nuanced. Instead of just staying wide and staying out here, in fact, he actually just comes that little bit narrower. And Wan-Bissaka thinks that he's got control of the situation. But Gordon, again, bloody manipulating again, isn't he? And Wan-Bissaka has absolutely no idea what's going on, if I'm honest. He breaks that stride by 2 or 3 steps, and look at how much space he then gets from it. Now, remember when we said that he made 10 progressive receptions against Man United? Well, yeah, this is why. Again, subtle movements towards and then away. He is so good at it. And even his goal against Man United is an example of his movement destroying Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Again, it is so subtle. Aaron Wan-Bissaka thinks he's absolutely fine with Gordon here, as you can see, right? And they're touch tight. He's in control. He's got a good positioning with Maguire as a back four. They look pretty solid. But I think an important person here is one, Kieran Trippier. But again, the fact that Anthony Gordon sees what's going on. Most wingers or strikers, they'd go like that, or they'd go like that, and they'd go at a pace. To stand still sometimes is brilliant, and it can be a game changer. And Anthony Gordon, to know this, is just fantastic, because what he does here, now that doesn't look like a lot, right? But he's kind of stepping back as much as stepping away. But by stepping back and away, it then means that, 1, he's the blind side of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He cannot see what he is doing. 2, he knows what's on the horizon. Trippier's going to get himself on the ball, and he knows what Trippier's going to do. The thing that Trippier does brilliantly, and we do a video on this, please go and watch it if you're a Newcastle fan, is that the thing that Kieran Trippier does better than most players in the world is he does it quickly. He knows what he's going to do. And if he knows it, and his team knows it, then it allows for that movement to really, really be devastating. And it is. Because Anthony Gordon gives himself that yard to allow him to run at pace, to ensure that he, 1, gets in front of the opposition, but 2, he gets to the area that he wants to be, because he absolutely knows what Kieran Trippier is about to do. And if we move it on one more, what happens? He gets there before Anthony Gordon, and he scores from 3 yards. Beep this for me, please, editor. It's brilliant. 90% of other players in the Premier League would have never scored that goal. So Newcastle didn't overpay. They got it just right. This guy is a bargain. He's one of the most intelligent footballers on the planet. And now, after watching this video, hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. And secondly, you won't watch Anthony Gordon the same.